gold I took away was not to use AI for more quantity, but for higher quality. That was incredible.
Heck yeah.
Trev, we have a mutual friend, Sean, and
Yep.
we were on a call a few weeks ago, and he was just raving about you and how he's modeling his new assistant to help you talk about buying back your time, the stuff you've learned for Dan Martell. My first hire was an assistant to help get some of that administrative and operational workload. I think, you can get to a certain level of success as a real estate investor just wearing every single hat, right? And sometimes we have problems because we're such type A people and we want to control everything, letting go of some of this stuff, right? So, your EA is obviously at a different level, but for people that are here in the crowd, right, that are ready to kind of make that first hire, right, but are either struggling, what advice could you give them to hire a killer assistant, and what are the things that they should delegate?
Dude, the first thing, and I remember Dan saying this to me back in 2016. He said, Trevor, if you're making a couple $100,000 a year and you don't have an assistant, then you're the highest paid assistant in your town, right? Because you are doing all the assistant work. And so I think that's the first thing, is don't be afraid once you start to make a little bit of money, and it could even be $20,000 a year, right? It doesn't have to be a lot. We need to be immediately thinking, what drains my energy, and what money can I use to now trade money for time, right? Because we're in the game of not trading time for money. We're not even in the game of making more money. We're in the game of using business as a tool to do three things for me. The first thing is to give me work I'm interested in. Right? If I'm not interested in my work, then I think we're in the wrong business. Now, you don't have to be passionate about it. You should be interested in it. Our EA should help us do more of the work that we're interested in. Number two, our business should actually fund our life vision. So if we get clear where we want to go and what we want to do and what we want that life to look like, put a dollar amount to it. And that business should be built to fund that, including your philanthropy and things like that. And then the third thing is to make an impact. And so I want my EA to be really clear on all those. But I'm going to immediately shift my mindset to say, I need to get my time back quickly. A couple tactical things, guys. There's a ton of people in your community. I've had 2 or 3 EAs this way that were amazing, that were professionals. Then they became moms. They had an amazing skill set. They want to come back in the workforce, but not full time. And hire them 5 hours a week. 5 hours a week. Everybody here can afford someone for 5 hours a week at $20 an hour. If you've paid for a ticket in this room, you can afford for someone for 5 hours a week at $25 an hour. And then I would just go, okay, my job is to sit down once a week with that person and write down all the things that are draining my energy, and then say, which ones of these can you help me with this week? If you just start there, it's going to really help. Yep.
Gold, pure gold, guys. Gold.
All right, Trev. What has been the most important boundary you've set to protect your energy and creativity? Because I know you are an energy audit master. That's where I get the term. Yeah. I remember listening to it as I'm driving when I first got started in real estate.
Yep. Dude, first of all, Pace mentioned this before, dude. The first time I met you, I think it was at that Investor Fuel event. And I met Stratton, and I'm like, dude, this guy asked better questions than 99% of humanity. And I love this guy for his sense of curiosity, dude. So I appreciate you on it. What was the question again?
What's the most important boundary you've set to protect your energy and creativity?
Dude, most important boundary, I think, I'll go back to energy. Because if I don't have energy for my family, then I don't care if I had it for work. If I don't go home and have energy for my family, everything at work was for naught, right? So the first thing is that I schedule my days to flow with my energy. So everything about my week is flowing with my energy. When do I do my best work? When do I have my focus work? My wife and I, we weren't making date nights work this last year with everything with my dad. And we have 3 young kids. They're 10 and 12 and 14, and they're 4-H and all their school activities. We got kind of busy, and so we were missing our date nights. And every single year, we sit down and we do what I call a pre-stacked year. We look at a full calendar, and we go, what experiences do we want to have? What travel? What are some of the work things? Where do we want to grow? Where do the kids want to grow in personal growth? And we lock them into the calendar first. So that's the first thing, dude, is the non-negotiables that has to get locked into the calendar first, because you will schedule over that time, and you'll always be like, let's do this someday. You're never going to do it if it's not in the calendar.